Right, what's happening? So Max Holloway just got announced to fight Arnold Allen on a UFC fight night on April 15th, and there are rumours of Sean Strickland taking a fight with Paulo Costa. I'm just going to spend a few minutes breaking all this down and talking about what I think of these matchups. So kicking it off, we've got Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. First things first, I'm happy that this fight's been made. I think it's the right thing to do it. I think it's the only thing he could have done with Allen. Where how his career's been recently. He's been stacking up wins. I want to say 11 fight win streak. He's getting tried and tested in this division. He's proving himself to be a good top contender. So I think it makes complete sense for him to fight Max Holloway, who's just lost to Volkanovski for the third time. The third time. 3-0. He lost to Volkanovski for the third time for a belt. So I think it makes sense for Arnold Allen after everything, after all the work he's been putting into getting an opponent like Max Holloway. And it's a good opponent for Max Holloway to take. Arnold Allen, like I said, has been cleaning house through these other contenders, really making building up a very good win streak. So a good win against Arnold Allen would really throw Max right back into that picture. So yeah, I'm really happy this fight's been made. I think like I said, it makes sense. I know Arnold Allen's last result was unfortunate in the way that Calvin Kattar got injured towards the end of that first round. But I think if you look at it, I only saw that fight going one way, and that was in Arnold Allen's favour after about 3 minutes of him just kind of smacking around Qatar and more or less doing whatever he wanted with him. In the first round, that Arnold has taken a bit more time to warm into earlier on in his career. So, I think it's unfortunate that fight ended the way it did, but I think there was only ever going to be one winner that night. Now, moving on to predictions, I can't lie. I think I've got Allen in this. I mean, I know it's going to be a 5 rounder, which obviously does benefit the toughness and the cardio of Max Holloway. But I've just got Allen getting it done, and if you can't tell, I might it's not my British bias kicking in, but I think if you look at recent performances, which are the best things to judge fighters off of, I think Allen has just looked better than Holloway, and Allen has shown areas of great strides in doing things that Max Holloway finds quite difficult to deal with. Because if we look at Allen, what have we got? We've got solid boxing, a southpaw stance, footwork, power, doesn't telegraph his shots, so he's very composed. He never, he does everything by the book. He's got an excellent timing. Nothing's ever just, all his shots are timed perfectly as someone's trying to come in or loop around or come out. He's a very complete fighter in that regard. He's very in touch with he's very in touch with his basics, his bread and butter, but at like an elite level, he does everything that you're meant to do right. And that's how he gets the results that he needs. He doesn't do stupid, crazy shit. He does love getting in a firefight. We saw that with Dan Hooker. He can have incredibly entertaining fights, and he's got the power to really rock people and hurt them. But he's a very put together, composed fighter and a fucking solid boxer on the feet at that. And I just think Allen has the ability to capitalise on things that Holloway is a lot more susceptible to. I think it's a pretty bad style matchup, especially with how Allen's looking recently and how Holloway's looking recently. If we look at opponents that Holloway's done well against, we've got Calvin Kattar and Yair Rodriguez, and Holloway was having success in that Yair fight through capitalising on the openings that Yair left. Stylistically, Yair is always spinning around doing something fucking autistic on the feet. Elbows or knees or flying up kicks or whatever the fuck he does. And I think, Max Holloway's just able to grit through that and sort of just evade that sort of shit and smack Rodriguez around. And Allen's not going to be doing that, is he? Allen's just going to be staying composed. He will probably be going first either way. But Allen's not going to be throwing anything, insane, especially out of the first round or anything like that, that Max can kind of, just something that's a lot more easy for Max and his lack of head movement and his ability to absorb CTE. Max won't really be able to get out of the way of Arnold Allen shots in the same way Rodriguez throws shit. Rodriguez really telegraph everything he has. There's always some stupid spinning shit that, if you've I think an ounce of head movement can get you out of there. There's danger involved in that, obviously, but they're big shots, and you can see them coming. And Max did see them coming, and he was able to tank them and give himself a bit more CTE, and then proceed to put it on Rodriguez. But Allen's not going to be throwing like spinning shit out of the gate. Allen's going to be staying very composed. He's going to be timing shots as opposed to just winging them out of nowhere. And I think that's really going to help him in that instance. Another thing and do you know who else had good composure against Max Holloway 3 times? Volk. Volk is, was notorious for being boring, some would say. And I don't personally, but people call him Volk boring for his fighting style, and Max was losing to him because he was struggling against that that timing and that expertise and that composure that Volkanovski brings. Now I do has Arnold Allen got that Volkanovski level composure and timing? No, he doesn't, not yet. But I think he's quite underrated in his timing and composure. I think he has enough of that skill to really capitalise on mistakes that Max Holloway will make, and he'll get out of the way of those long looping punching combos that might go on for a while with just with solid head movement and boxing ability and footwork. All are abilities that he shares with Alexander Volkanovski, someone who's just 3-0'd him. So I do really think it's quite a favourable matchup for Allen, but that isn't to say that Holloway can't win. I think, despite I know I just fucking ranted and raved on about Arnold Allen's ability to be composed at all times, and he is and his timing and whatnot, and he is. That being said, if you he can be baited into a firefight if he can smell a finish. We saw that against Dan Hooker, where there was a few seconds of composure and solid footwork and solid boxing on the feet. And but once he smelt blood, he did kind of, he got the finish, but he was really, putting himself in some dangerous positions and just fucking swinging and trying to smash the fuck out of Dan Hooker. And I think if Holloway plays that game and baits Arnold Allen just into a brawl, because it's very unlikely that Allen's going to finish him, especially out of nowhere. So if Max Holloway's able to bait him into a brawl, which he can do. I mean, while Arnold Allen's got great fight IQ, he does sometimes just he does throw all of it and caution to the wind sometimes if he can smell a finish. So if he thinks he can smell a finish on Max Holloway, it becomes a lot more of a dogfight, and I do think that will suit Holloway, who's notorious for his ability to just absorb damage and tough things out. And as this is a main event, it will be a 5-rounder, no shit. So if we start trudging into those trenches in those 4th and 5th rounds, Max can probably implement that, just that toughness, that cardio, and that ability to just constantly be pumping out shots and taking damage. And I reckon that will be something that could get him a win if that happens. But I think that's all dependent on if Arnold Allen decides to play his regular game of just, not telegraphing shots and play, not playing it safe at all, just being composed, I'd say. Or is he going to play the game like he did against Dan Hooker and just fucking throw caution to the wind the second he smells an ounce of blood and fucking go after him? I don't think he will. I think he'll understand that he's in there against Holloway, who's not very unlikely to get finished. So Holloway definitely has a chance, but it's not. I don't really think it's through ability. I just think it's through maybe being able to play a little mental game of oh god, you got me. Come and finish it, and then you've got a dogfight, which is something that Holloway can really benefit from. And I mean, just one more little thing that I want to mention in favour of Allen is Holloway does get. I mean, no shit, Holloway gets hit a lot. He also gets leg kicked a lot. And if you look at the first, well, you can only look at that first round between Arnold Allen and Calvin. Allen was chopping at the leg a little bit, and he does. He knows what he's doing. He can. He is a complete fighter, so he does possess the ability to start, investing in those leg kicks, and which can potentially compromise a bit of movement from Holloway, who isn't necessarily going to be bouncing around anyway. But it's just something else that I think works in the favour of Allen. So, like I said, yeah, I'd really favour Allen in that matchup. I just think he's able to capitalise on all weaknesses that Max Holloway has shown in his recent fights. And he's just, in terms of boxing ability specifically, and that lot, Max Holloway's last fight was more or less just a boxing match. Um, he is showing, early shades of Volk, I'd say, with just that composure and that, that ability to not telegraph shots and get in and get out and answer and punish. We saw that against Qatar. So I'm picking Allen, man. I can't lie, but we'll see what happens. Holloway can win. Holloway can definitely win. He's proved, he always does it. He seems to bounce off of losses to Volkanovski and then just get a win. So we'll see what happens. But I personally think that Arnold Allen would take the cake on that one. Now, as for the second part of what I want to be talking about real quick, Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa have sort of been, hinting at something maybe happening between them. So I thought I'd give a really quick rundown of what that's going to be about and who I think would win and how that would go and if it makes sense. Does it make sense? Yeah, I'd say so. Well, no. Well, Costa should be getting the fuck kicked out of him by Robert Whittaker for however much money he is, but because he's got the worst management's team in the I don't want to fucking get into it. Costa should be fighting Robert Whittaker on that card in Perth in February. He's not doing that because he's a bitch. So instead, he's taken on Sean Strickland for the exact same amount of money, and he's going to be a free agent again, regardless, with a win that's less impressive as potentially beating Robert Whittaker. So, but he'll get paid the same as he would if he fought Robert Whittaker, but just for less potential reward, I guess. Right. I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense for Strickland. I mean, middleweights, everyone seems to be booked up right now, right? The Plessis is booked in with Brunson, Vittori Delidze. What do you do with these guys hovering in that section? So, Gaslam's booked. So no, it makes sense. I'm sort of in that way. I guess I'm fine with it happening. I actually don't think. I reckon there's going to be a narrative coming out that Paulo Costa's going to destroy him, and Sean Strickland, fucking fighting like iCarly, pitter patter, and shit like that. I can't be the only one here. Go watch Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold. You cannot tell me, and I understand about the altitude and shit like that, but regardless, Costa did not look good. He really he looked fucking bad, man. And for what it's worth, Sean Strickland in that Cannonier fight and in that Imavov fight was clearly showing that he can, he can get it. He can get it done. I personally thought he beat Cannonier in a very close decision. So, that shit goes either way. Fine. But he fucking, he dealt with Imavov more or less for 5 rounds. I think he won 4 rounds to 1, I want to say. Sean Strickland isn't bad. He just has a very visually unattractive style of fighting that kind of works at middleweight because they're all garbage, but it kind of, gives you this illusion that he's not skilled. He really is. He just does it in a very visually unappeasing matter, and he can take a fucking shot. He was taking shots off of Mavov when Cannonier was getting through the arms of Sean Strickland and tagging him a little bit. Strickland just sort of walked through it. The only thing that's put him down is a fucking left hook from hell that was perfectly timed from Alex Pereira. And I think I need to tell you how good he is at putting people away. And I don't think Costa has insane power. I think he has good power, but I think sometimes that just comes off of him being a bigger guy, and there's a bit of like an intimidation factor when he's TKOing Uriah Hall and shit like that. So it's a different. Yeah, he put Romero on his ass. So it's not like he doesn't have power. He does hit hard. He definitely hits harder than Strickland. But it's not Alex Pereira, right? It's not fucking. Oh, you better watch out because if Costa connects, if that right hand connects from Costa, It's not like that. It'll be a brutal TKO or something, where maybe it's just too much for Strickland. But I can't really see Strickland just going down to something unless it's a perfectly timed, powerful shot like the one Pereira threw. So that's just I will say this: Strickland does stand upright a lot, in that pitter patter stance. And if you watch the Vittori fight, and yeah, and there's shadows of it in the Rockhold fight. I want to say Costa has some fucking horrific body kicks. You do not want them fucking slamming against your ribs. So I think he could, you could see KO Strickland through a body kick maybe. But yeah, I just thought I'd give my little rundown about how that would go. I think I actually don't think it's up. It's a certain. I think it's a lot more up in the air because I reckon the narrative will be Costa will walk through him. I want you to sit and fucking think about that for a second. How was Costa look recently, and how was Strickland look recently? Would I still pick Costa? Yeah, mate. It's just yeah, I would, but mate, but like decision or something like a decision in a 5 round or in a 3 round. I don't know. I think it's a real tough one to pick. I think if you actually look at Paulo Costa and Sean Strickland, both given the amount of credit they both actually deserve, that's a very tough fight to call. And so that's it. That's the roundup of today. Oh, one more thing that I want to talk about. Laura Sanko is going to be the first woman commentator in UFC history. A lot of people have said certain stuff about this. I just want to say okay, there are 2 reasons why Laura Sanko has gotten the job on the desk as a commentator. All right, thank you for watching the video. I'll be getting on my way now. Please drop it a like or something, and I'll see you guys later.